For our add two number code, which allows us to add two numbers together, what if we wanted to get the output of num1 and num2 into another function like multiplication function, which takes one input from the user, and the second input was actually the sum of num1 and num2 from our previous addition function. Currently, our function add two number only prints the final output on screen. There is no way for other functions to use the output of add two number and use it in their own code. That information is only in the function definition of add two number. To access and use the value of the sum of num1 and num2 outside of our function definition, we want to change the definition so that instead of just calculating the output and printing them, it returns the sum as output data as a return value. This is sort of like how we could input information into a function call by including parameters in our function definition, but instead of input, this time we are producing output that can be accessed outside this definition. This will become clearer when we see an example. To return any data as output and use it outside function definition, you'll have to do two things. The first thing we have to do is to change the return type from void to the output type we expect it to return. And return types are just the types of variables like string, integers, doubles, and so on. In this case, we know we want to return sum of num1 and num2 variable, which is an int value. So we'll change the return type from void to an int. The second thing we need to do is to return the value of the int of our sum num1 and num2 in a return statement. The return statement is just a line of code at the end of a function definition that says return followed by the value you want to output. In this case, that's the value of sum of num1 and num2. So our return statement is just return num1 plus num2 followed by a semicolon. Now because we have included the correct return type and the return statement, when I call this function, I will output the value of sum of num1 and num2 and will be able to use this output value in other function calls. Here's our function call from before that adds two number and it will also return value this time. I can now store the return output of this function call as an int variable, which I'll call sum. This function call outputs the value 5 and then I can store that in a variable. Now the output of add two number gives us access to the return value of the sum of num1 and num2. Once we store this output in a variable, I can use it just like I would use any other variable. This goes for any function that returns a value like this. The function call should be used in the same way that its return type is used. For add two numbers, I can use this return int value in my other functions like multiply two number and call the function by providing the output variable sum to the argument of multiply two number. And once Java runs this code, it will set 2 as the parameter num1 and set 5 as the parameter num2 for our multiplication function, and it will print the output 10.